How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Terror Talk. Guys, a little bit to cover here with the Nancy, is it Guthrie? Russ, is it Guthrie?
Yeah, yeah.
The Nancy Guthrie case. She is the missing mother of Savannah Guthrie. And we actually already have done a video already. So if you're not familiar with this case, I recommend you watch our first video. But we're going to kind of keep this moving. We have a couple of things we want to cover here. We have the recent press conference, the ransom note, shame on you, TMZ, shame on you, and just our perspective we want to provide. So the first thing I want to do real quick is let's do the press conference real quick. It makes sense. Let's do the press conference first. I'll be honest with you. This press conference, there really wasn't any major updates here, but if you watch this, Russ, did you get a chance to see this yet?
I got to see a very small portion of it, and then I tuned back out because it seemed like they were announcing an update of no new updates.
Now, there really isn't any new updates, but I do want to mention something. I think, let me just get one more video I want to show. Have it in the background. Guys, be with me. I don't know if there's going to be a noise that's going to come out. Just bear with me. I want to get this video set. Okay, good. Hopefully not runs in the background here. So I thought the first press conference, it was more open, basically letting us know what they could. And I know obviously now we're deep into this investigation now, so they have to be very careful of what they let out. Now, I noticed yesterday he was all over the media, this sheriff, and I think he may have said things that he wasn't supposed to say, and then the media kind of ran with it, like what they do, social media as well, they kind of ran with it, and I think he may have been told he had to pull back, and I think the reason why they're doing this conference technically is to kind of clean up a little bit about what was maybe released that shouldn't have been released and get ahead of any rumors that are starting to come through, social media, regular media, because they run with every little thing. So if you notice here, he's a little bit more conservative, a little bit more, he's less willing to give things out, obviously. And I think that maybe someone spoke to him because he was all over the media yesterday. Basically, they were asking him the same questions that he couldn't answer. But I think he did say stuff that maybe wasn't supposed to get released. And then the media ran with it. So I think someone spoke to him and said, yo, you got to slow it down, but we have to clean it up a little bit. And you're going to have to go back on air and start cleaning up. Because don't forget, they're working in cooperation with, even though they're the lead, the FBI is involved. And the FBI is a bit more secretive, and I get it. Their job is to protect the integrity of the investigation. Okay, so here we go.
Let that be yours, John. Good morning. I don't know that everybody knows who's here. Of course, I'm Sheriff Chris Nanos. John Edwards is the Tucson chief here for the FBI, and he'll have some words for you as well. This is really, for me, pretty new, all the media attention. So I apologize to you for sometimes I'm speaking in generalities, and I'm not used to everybody hanging on to my words and then trying to hold me accountable for what I say, but I understand. So we're going to try our best to.
All right, Russ, so you saw that intro, right? It's not
Yeah.
used to speak and then holding accountable to what he's saying. So I think he pretty much said that he may have said too much. He was going on the media like crazy yesterday. And I think that basically people had said, at least within this circle, hey, go back out there, clean this up. You're giving up too much. All right, hold on. That's what I thought was unique when he said that.
To be succinct with you in the future. And also more important for you to understand is we have a lot of work in front of us. We have a job to do. And we have someone's life who is in jeopardy. And so job number one is we got to find her, and we got to work hard to do that. I understand there's great attention on this. and rightfully so. And I appreciate it, and I thank you for it, because it has generated a lot of leads for us. And so we're tracking those leads, and we're doing things with evidence that you would expect us to be doing. So having said that, we're going to set this up. I know that a number of you yesterday, you guys drove me crazy. Yesterday, I was going from AM to all the way to 9, 10, 11 midnight, answering concerns and questions, and it's just too tough. And it's not fair to the case.
Hey, Russ, I think like when they do this, usually you talk to the media with the press conference. I think having the lead, the main county with the lead now going on all these different news outlets, I think that did create a concern. Usually this is the way to do it. And he said that he's going to try to do it regularly. Next press conference is on the Thursday coming. So I think they're trying to control that a little bit. Do you think he was a little bit more present than he should have been?
I think that there's always a risk when you give any information to the media, because they're going to blow it up. They're going to, wash it through their filters, and then they're going to tell the story that gets them the most clicks. I think that that's simply what happened here. He probably should have been much more circumspect. He probably, if I was doing this, I would not take any questions. I would tell them what we have that we could release and what to be on the lookout for, and what the public can bring to us with regards to, developing leads, developing a direction of travel, that kind of thing. But answering questions gives them too much leeway, because they are going to ask a bunch of, general questions and some specific ones. And that's when you lose control over the media, is when you start letting them interject their thoughts into something that they don't really even have any idea about yet.
Yeah, and I think this guy's a little rough when it comes to the media too. Okay, let's continue. I'm not trying to attack him, just my perspective.
So what I'm going to tell you is today we're going to do this similar to what we're doing right now. Here we'll take questions. It's not really my briefing, it's your briefing. You'll be able to ask us some questions. We'll probably shut you off after a while, because I just can't be here all day. We have work to do. But we'll take some questions, and then in a couple of days, breaks. We'll do this every couple of days. So, and we'll set up with you through our PIO teams to give you anything that comes up that might change, but clearly they will notify you on these, what I call media briefings. So,
see, he also said it's definitely going to be going through the PIO. So obviously the information will be filtered as to what he give out. And he also says, kind of keeping it short, that he has to go, because I think that they told him, you're out there too long. So let's go out there, give the message, bring about the awareness, because that's what you're supposed to do right now, is bring about awareness, let the public know what we need from them, answer a few questions, but then you got to go. Okay, so hold on. Because this really is about awareness. Obviously, they need help here.
With that, I'm going to ask John to come up. If you've got a statement to say, John, and then we'll take some questions and we'll get back to work.
Hello, I'm John Edwards. My spelling is Jonedwards. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the FBI's office here in Tucson. First, we want the community to know that the FBI is doing everything in our power to bring Nancy Guthrie home to her family. The FBI is working alongside the Pima County Sheriff's Department on this incident. In terms of what the FBI is doing, we are providing the following support. Primarily, it's analytical and technical support in the following ways. We're downloading and analyzing cell phones, obtaining cell tower information, conducting interviews, and providing any and all investigative support that the Sheriff's Department needs. We're looking at this from every angle, but we need your help.
So it's unique, Russ. You see how he's more scripted?
Yeah, he's gonna hit all of his bullet points. He's gonna tell them what he needs, and then they're going to ask a bunch of questions that he can't answer.
Yeah. Sorry.
If you live in the area or saw something on Saturday night, the 31st of January, or Sunday morning, the 1st of February, please report it to the Pima County Sheriff's Department or the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Every lead and tip is important. We are aggressively pursuing and looking into every single one. Again, please help us bring Nancy Guthrie home. Thank you.
Quick and to the point.
We'll take some questions.
Sheriff,
Okay.
Sheriff, is there any indication so far as to whether this was a random abduction or targeted?
It's like I said earlier, we're looking at all the leads, and we don't know. We're going to assume both sides of that. We'll look at both sides of that.
Sheriff,
do you
have any idea what Nancy Guthrie was wearing, or the type of car that she might have left from, or any identifiable information that the public could use to help with those tips?
We do not.
Sheriff,
do you believe that one or
So Russ, that's a concern for me, because you remember when we were discussing, maybe they know a little bit more than they should. I think that's something that they could release to the public. So the fact that they don't know that shows me that they really may be at a bit of a loss.
Yeah, you would think if they had a description of a car, that would be helpful, but really only if it's license plates. I mean, geez, if they have a photo or something of a car that's, a Toyota Corolla or something, what are they going to put out? A white Toyota Corolla?
Right.
I mean, they're very limited. Running down a bunch of excessive leads isn't going to get them anywhere. I think that they probably do have video or a photo of the car, but I don't think it's anything that they believe is going to help them in this.
And my also thing is what she was wearing. If they don't have, I mean, they could get some strange car in the neighborhood. I mean, I get that, and these are, some cars that may have showed up on some ring cams that are not usually from this neighborhood, or maybe a little out of place. But when he said just now that they have no idea what she may have worn when she left, like last known item she had on her, I think that's a bit concerning, because if they knew that, they would release that immediately. That's pretty much always released, so people know exactly what they're looking for. The fact that they don't know what she wore means, in my mind, that they really may not have anything from the night before into the early morning of the next day. All right, let's see.
more than one person was
Rewind
involved?
that.
use to help with those tips?
We do not.
Sheriff,
Sheriff, do you believe that one or more than one person was involved in the kidnapping?
Just no clue. It could have been one. It could have been more. I don't
How
know.
many demands?
So you want to hear something funny? I don't know. That's what you talked about yesterday, Russ, right?
Yeah.
That possibly more than one person.
Yep.
And the lady asked, she said, involved, is it more than one person involved in the kidnapping? And he answered it. He said, no, we don't know yet. So he never denied the fact that there was a kidnapping or an abduction. He pretty much answered that in that question. No, I don't know how many people are involved in this kidnapping. That was a pretty slick move from the reporter.
Let me get one
Is
second.
there any indication that Nancy Guthrie is still alive? We know the medication played a critical role here. It's been 48 hours. She needs it every single day. Are you looking for someone that is still alive?
We hope we are. We hope we are.
Sheriff, you said earlier that you don't believe there's a wider threat to the public. If you're not sure if it's targeted, why do you believe there's no wider threat to the public?
Well, we have crime in Tucson all the time, right? Like any city. And so when you say a threat to the public, is there somebody out there who's kidnapping elderly people in the middle of the night every night? We've not heard that. We don't believe that's the case. We do believe that Nancy was taken from her home against her will, and that's where we're at.
Sheriff, when you reference violence at the site, can you elaborate on that? And also, was there a sign of forced entry, any valuables taken, any bank or ATM cards used after her disappearance?
We're not getting into that. What I'd tell you is, like any crime scene, we processed this crime scene. We gathered all the evidence we could, to include looking for what? Fingerprints, DNA, camera images, everything you can imagine and we gathered that out. Those things have been submitted forward to labs, to technological companies to help us. And we're like you. We're waiting for those returns to come back.
Did you find DNA that did not belong in that house?
The window of time from when she was last seen to when she was reported missing, and I know you guys are asking for help from the public, is there any way to narrow down what time you might be up? Like, I know there was a report about a pacemaker dinging like around 2 o'clock in the morning. Is there any way to indicate to people, hey, look around 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. to help them identify?
I really don't want to get into narrowing down the time, because narrowing it down means we could miss some tips and leads. We're working on with the data we've submitted for investigative analysis. We're working to see if that time can be tightened up. But for now, we're going with what we told you earlier. She was dropped off at 9:30, and she was found to be missing at about 11 o'clock Sunday morning.
Sure.
I got to admit, I was impressed with that answer, though. How if you kind of try to bring the time frame out, it could limit the tips that come their way. Hey, Russ, I saw that there's a difference between the word kidnapping and abduction when it comes to it being used in legal context. So kidnapping usually means unlawfully taking or confining a person against their will, typically by force, threat, or deception, and holding or moving them for a particular wrongful purpose, like a ransom, using as a hostage, facilitating another felony, terrorizing, etc. Abduction is often used more broadly to mean taking someone away by force, fraud, or persuasion, but does not always require a ransom mode or even the use of force. For example, luring someone away by deception. You also see that with a lot of grooming. They'll say that we could have an abduction because the girl was groomed and then she was picked up by a car, or the boy was groomed, whatever it is. In many U.S. statutes, the legal reference kidnapping is defined as unlawful removal or confinement plus a listed intent, like ransom, hostage, terrorizing, interfering with government, etc., while abduction is the act of taking someone away by force, threat, or fraud without necessarily specifying those particular motives. So some jurisdictions mostly use kidnapping in the code and build abduct into the definition of kidnapping. So let's see. For example, New York defines abduct as restraining a person to prevent their liberation, such as by hiding them or threatening deadly force. Others create separate offenses or labels, like child abduction, often focused on taking a child from lawful custody, including by a parent, in violation of custody order, versus kidnapping, which can apply to victims of any age and often involve strangers or more serious aspirations and confinement. And the last part is, common law and in many modern explanations, the terms are acknowledged as being used interchangeably in everyday language, but statutes try to nail down specific elements. So the charge you see, kidnapping versus abduction / child, abduction / custodial interference, depends on the jurisdiction and fact pattern. So in casual speech, people may say kidnapping and abduction as if they mean the same thing, and both refer to taking someone against their will. But legally, you have to look at the specific jurisdiction statute. Often kidnapping is a defined higher level felony with particular purposes or aggravating factors, while abduction may be treated as a more general or differently structured offense, or just as the act element within kidnapping. I didn't know that. That was good to know, right, Russ?
Yeah, kind of like I think it goes back to Old English. It used to be more about, kidnapping originally came from the idea behind child abductions and so forth. When it gets interspersed through language and things like that, then it just it develops its own thing. And then you have different states defining different laws and what different things mean. The original origin, I think, though, had to do obviously with what they called the child snatching or child kidnapping eventually.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of took it as like abduction is general, and then kidnapping is when there's a purpose behind it. So I don't know, maybe if he said abduction at first, but now, because he didn't deny kidnapping, he just said, I don't know if there's more than one person. So I thought that was unique. He never denied that. All right, let's see.
Let me get this one.
DNA of anyone else found in the house?
We've submitted all kinds of samples for DNA, and we've gotten some back, but nothing to indicate any suspects.
Anybody strange in the neighborhood? I know you're looking at video, different surveillance camera, anything that we should be looking out at different cars.
I have nothing in that regard.
Any
Have
plans to
any,
release
have
that
any
video?
demands
Any
been
thoughts
made?
of-
Have any demands been made by kidnappers?
We have all kinds of investigative leads we're working on.
Sheriff, we noticed that the camera on the front of the house is missing.
That's Brian and from News Nation. Guys, just to let you know, I'm not a big fan. I think when it came to the Emmanuel Harrow case, he violated the integrity of the case by when he what was it called again, Russ? What's the operation?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. It has to do with jailhouse informants.
Yeah,
Basically.
I think he released it when it shouldn't have been released, and it forced law enforcement to have to lie and backpedal because everything Perkins operation. So I've been upset with them over that.
Do you believe the perpetrator purposely took the camera?
Don't know that. We're looking into that as well. Yes, sir.
That scene been fully processed now. We saw deputies leave around 6 o'clock last night. We didn't see tape go up. An Amazon driver was able to walk right up to the door. Is that pretty standard for how you handle this?
The scene is done. We're done with the residents. If we need to go back to get, maybe we want to do something with some other piece of evidence there, we contact the family and let them know. But we've turned that over to the family. I don't have the time, but it was sometime yesterday, I believe.
Did you cover any tire tracks or any
No, ma'am.
footprints around the house?
No.
Was there
Could
any
you please take us through the timeline that you've established of the events so far and with as much detail as you can?
9:45, 9:30, 9:45, we were told she was left at her home by the family. At 11 o'clock in the morning, the family got notice from somebody at church that she was not at church. They went to the home, found her to be missing. That's the timeline. From Saturday night, 9:45, we'll say, to Sunday morning, 11 o'clock.
Have you been
Let me get somebody back here, please.
Have you interviewed the people that reported her missing?
Make this one simple change when filling.
Sorry.
That's the family. Oh, from the church as well.
Have you interviewed the people that reported her missing, the people from the?
That's the family. Oh, from the church as well. We're doing all kinds of interviews. Yes, I'm sure we have.
Have you been able to access the footage from the cameras at the house?
That's all been submitted, and we're doing our best with those companies who own those cameras or built those cameras.
Are there any plans to release those videos from the cameras, from the surveillance? Are there any plans to release the video from the cameras, surveillance footage?
We don't even have them yet, so no, not at this time. This is an active investigation.
There's a report of a suspicious man a few doors down last week. Is that anything that you guys are aware of?
I'm not aware of it. My detectives may be. There's a lot of detective work being done, and I just can't get into those weeds or even discuss with you what they may not have learned.
For
Yes, ma'am.
Report from the board yesterday. Are there specific resources that maybe the board has not granted that would have made a difference responding to this case?
Well, that's getting into my own local politics. I apologize. Yes, the board a few weeks ago denied a request for more cameras, more drones, more AI capabilities with our own body-worn cameras. All those things, that you'd have to talk to the board. I
think he's a bit more assertive in this, and then kind of just trying to get through this because I think someone did speak to him. He's different than when we first saw him.
Probably not the right time to go into this.
Sure.
Let me get somebody else here. Yes.
Do you believe she's still in this area?
Do we believe?
Do you believe she's still in this area, or is there somewhere else?
We don't know where she is. So we like any investigation. Just start from the point of where we last saw her, and we work out, and we're working as far out as we can go.
Sure, can you walk through
Were there
the
any
evidence found?
forced entry at the house, like any broken windows or whatever? Does it seem like people just went in and out?
There are concerns at the house that concerned us from the early on part of this investigation, and that's all I will tell you. Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Is there any history with Nancy needing police at her place or concerns where she was worried about somebody following or?
We our investigative team has looked into all of those things, and that has not been brought to my attention. So she may have had something like that, but I'm not aware of it.
What is the extent of collaboration with the federal government? Obviously, FBI is here, CBP. Are there other agencies also involved?
CBP's role in this was in our search and rescue mission, where we constantly use them. They have great dogs too. Our dogs aren't tracking dogs for this. Theirs are. And so they came out and did that. Anybody else, though, that we've asked for help from, whether it's the FBI, I know if we needed help from CBP or DEA or ATF, they would gladly give it. I've heard from leadership from all sorts of agencies, not just at the federal level, but across the state. Every one of them saying, Sheriff, you need anything, we're here.
So you obviously said investigators, when they got on scene, they found suspicious circumstances. When the family called originally to report her missing, did they say anything about the state of the home?
I don't know that. I don't know. Let me hang on. Let me make sure I'm getting some different people here. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so there was blood that was found inside the house and you're testing it for DNA. How much blood and where was it?
I'm not saying there's blood inside that house or outside that house. What I'm saying is our team processed a scene like you would think of any crime scene. We go in and we process it. We look for things like that, blood, DNA, any kind of physical evidence, fingerprints, anything. And all of that is gathered and submitted to a lab. That lab will report back to us what they find. So from that lab is nothing that would tell us this is who did this.
We'll take a couple more questions and then the sheriff's got to go.
Sheriff, can you walk through the evidence that was found at the scene in as much detail as possible?
No, I cannot.
What is the bottleneck to the surveillance footage? I know you said some of it is in the cloud, but you've also been reached out to tech companies that are saying they're cooperating. Why do not have the surveillance footage?
That's what I tell them. How come I don't have this? Where's my evidence? It is a process, and I'm sorry, but we're grateful that there's large corporations and companies who have bent over backwards to help us, to say, hey, Sheriff, tell us what you need. And so, yeah, I can't slam them. And we've asked them. They know the urgency here, but I'm like you. What do you mean I don't know that now? Yeah, it's tough.
Follow up on an answer that you gave earlier. You were asked if there
Last question.
You were asked if there was any ransom, and you didn't say no. You said we're following all leads. Does that mean a ransom has come in?
We're following all leads we have. That's all I can tell you. We've got hundreds of leads, and it's from you that produce those leads by telling people we need help, and I'm grateful for that. But I'm not going to get into all that. We have a team designated to deal with all of our leads. They're looking into all of that. We are sharing all of our leads with the FBI. They are helping us in evaluating those leads, how good they are, where that priority should be. And so we're just, look, I know you guys are doing your job and you're doing a great job. But we have a job to do too. And I really need to back away from this for a while. And we'll see you, unless something breaks, we'll see you Thursday morning. PIO will give you a time frame, I'm guessing somewhere around 11:30. But
Yeah, you're mute.
It's funny, Russ, kind of going with your narrative from yesterday. He didn't confirm or deny a ransom note. He kind of went around that question.
So I think that there's, time is not their friend right now. I think that he's being a little bit more closed on what they're able to get from the cameras and so forth, because I've seen in the past where things on the cameras are brought forth very quickly, and not necessarily by the agencies that run the cameras, but by people looking back in their clouds and peeling off footage for them. So I know TMZ right there, they describe that as a trail of blood. I've seen it before though, where someone else had said it was drops of blood, and so did they actually? Okay, yeah, I would not call that a trail. That's dripping blood. That is actually a blood splatter indicator right there.
Some people said it could even just been dropping out of her nose.
It could have been. It looks like there's a possibility, at least, that's some low-level active bleeding, which would be the most hopeful sign of all. But it's not definitive. Blood can pool in parts of the body where then it's dripped as the body is continued to be moved. And so, but it also could be active bleeding, and that would actually be a good sign that she wasn't, removed from the house already being dead. I think that it's perhaps even a kind of moderate indicator. So
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're doing some testing. I mean, it's not animals' blood. We don't think so. Yeah, TMZ must have had someone at the house, and because they already cleared the house already. The house is cleared. All right, so let me give some backdrop here, and then we have to do the latest updates. I got 6 questions for Russ that we could discuss briefly, and then this will be the latest update on the Guthrie case that we have, and then also tomorrow, me and Russ, or maybe the next day, we still want to do our story on the Haley Busby case. I got my stuff set for that, but I haven't been able to cover it yet. Okay, so just some backdrops here. On the outskirts of Tucson in the affluent Catalina foothills, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie vanished from her home in the dead of night. Family members dropped her off around 9:30 p.m. or 9:45 on January 31st and expected to see her in her usual church pew the next morning. When she didn't show up and didn't answer her phone, relatives went to the house, searched, and by midday on February 1st, they called 911. So it was around noon. Deputies with the Pima County Sheriff's Department quickly concluded this was not a simple missing person case. Nancy, the mother of today, co-anchor Savannah Guthrie, lived alone, had serious mobility issues. Her family said she couldn't walk 50 yards, and investigators found concerning signs inside the home, including evidence of possible forced entry and blood, enough that Sheriff Chris Nanos publicly called it a crime scene and said, "We do in fact have a crime." And the search escalated fast. Ground teams, K9, helicopters, drones, and the FBI all joined in as Nanos described it as the sheriff described it as a race against time for an elderly woman who needs daily medication and didn't just walk out on her own. Now, guys, remember, me and Russ did this all in detail in the last episode, so I'm just speeding through this. In the new press conference, that now was the update on February 3rd, Nanos said his office is aggressively pursuing hundreds of leads. I reiterated that they believe Nancy was taken against her will. When asked if he believes they are still looking for someone who is alive, he answered, "We hope we are," while warning that the lack of medication could be fatal. If she goes too long without it, she could pass, could die. An FBI supervisor detailed that agents are downloading and analyzing phones, pulling cell tower records, and running down every tip coming in from around the country. Investigators have also been looking at Nancy's medical electronics for clues. Reports say she has a pacemaker and that its data stopped syncing with her Apple Watch and phone in the early hours of Sunday, with both devices later found inside the home. And that pacemaker tracking doesn't function like GPS. Instead, remote monitoring systems log when the device last communicated and what her heart rhythm and activity look like, giving detectives a tighter time window for when she may have been taken or incapacitated, but not a live dot on a map. Okay, so that's all the backdrop. We're going to get to the ransom note, but Russ, for the pacemaker thing, I guess as it gets further away from the Apple phone or whatever is keeping the tracking, it no longer can read where it is, correct? It's not that it's shut off. It's just that it's probably further away from the source, right? You're muted, Russ.
I was going to say, it's a matter of distance.
Yeah.
And so, the distance, it's just like any device you have, how far can your watch get from your phone?
Yeah.
That's what it's like.
So it's like a Bluetooth connection. Is that what it is?
I don't know if it's a Bluetooth connection or some other technology, but I would wager that it probably is.
Yeah, but it kind of operates the same way, though, right? Because some people
it's so ubiquitous. Yeah, it's just radio frequency.
All right, so now let's go to the ransom notes. All right, so I got 2 things I want to show you. First, let's show you TMZ. It's about 1:39. A little upset with them right now, and we'll explain it. Hold on. Bit of a. Hold on, Russ. There's a bit of a commercial. Hold on. There's a commercial here, 14 seconds here. So hold on. I'll share it, though. Just got to get rid of this commercial. Hold on. It's pure black. 7 seconds. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So we got something in our email that looks like it's written like a ransom note for Savannah Guthrie's mother.
Specific
And they're
request
very
for certain amounts of money,
very specific.
Bitcoin.
And also they say at the bottom, there are certain things they're saying about what she was wearing and damage to the house.
That
as
they're
if
clearly saying to verify that
it's us.
We know what we're talking about here.
So we've contacted the sheriff's department, and we want to get them this letter. We had a little trouble getting through to the right person, but the person we spoke with is now forwarding this to somebody in the detective bureau. So if my phone rings, I may have to stop. And
what's interesting is, there was just a news conference that just ended with the sheriff, and he was asked about, we're going to do this segment in a few minutes, but he was asked about a ransom note, and he just said, we're following all leads.
Yeah, and this it's again, we don't know
if
it's
this is
authentic,
legit, right.
if it's authentic or not, but they're when you read it, they're acting as if, yeah, only we would know these things, and we're serious, and there's a dollar demand and an or else in there. So we will let you know as this thing kind of develops.
Obviously, you guys can't trust anything from TMZ. I mean, it's just deplorable what they did. You get this note, you should have kept that quiet. Send it over to the police, because most likely, even if there are people playing games, they want the attention. And I want to mention something real quick now. When the sheriff comes up and says absolutely that he doesn't know what the person was wearing, what type of car they have, then basically the people that emailed you that could have easily said, hey, they don't know, we could make something up, because it looks like they don't know. So, we could play a little bit of a game here, because they don't know. We have some ambiguity, and we could send out a quick email saying we do know this, because he knew that was information. Whoever sent that bullshit ransom note knew that was information that they weren't aware of that they need. Now,
and here's the other thing is, if you're going to send an actual ransom note, how hard is proof of life when all you have to do is take a picture and move it as an attachment to the email? There's no proof of life. They took some half-assed guesses at what might be going on in the house, but they're not actually going to send proof of life. It just reeks of bullshit.
Do we have the full note read?
No.
Now, hopefully they didn't do that, because that should have definitely.
Yeah, they didn't say that, but why didn't they? They said everything else. I mean,
I
these
agree.
guys are being really irresponsible. They want some clicks, and I think that they felt safe in it because they probably had a good indicator that it was bullshit. So.
But they run with it. Now I have
exactly, but they run with it. Hey, if they see, I wonder what would have happened if there had been proof of life on there. How would they have treated that? Would they have done the same thing? I would hope that they wouldn't, but I don't put anything beyond that.
I don't put anything past those two, to be honest with you. So TMZ said that on the morning of February 3rd, an email landed in its inbox that resembles a ransom note for Nancy Guthrie, demanding a large sum in the millions in Bitcoin in exchange for her safe return. The message, according to TMZ and outlets summarizing its reports, included specific details, what Nancy was allegedly wearing, and damage at the Tucson area home. Details the sender used to suggest they had firsthand knowledge, plus a deadline and an or else threat. Harvey Lebanon and then Charles Ladaboudier, whatever his name, discussed the email in a video and in a written piece, repeatedly calling it unverified and admitting we don't know if this is legitimate, even as they emphasized that TMZ staff had checked and confirmed the Bitcoin address exists and that there was a deadline attached. To be honest with you, they really should have, if this was real, they should really get it over before they checked any address. That really is not for them to be doing, to be honest with you. This is an active investigation. You should be giving it there and just keep your hands off of it. They say they forwarded the email to Pima County Sheriff's Department for investigators to handle, although even Realtor.com write-ups note that Levin himself said they initially struggled to reach the correct person at the sheriff's office before finally passing it along. At the same time, other reporting and law enforcement commentary are signaling that this may not be a classic kidnap for ransom plot. A Newsweek piece citing a source familiar with the case and separate analysis highlighted by ABC suggests investigators do not currently believe the abduction was part of a robbery or a traditional ransom scheme, and are keeping open the possibility that emails like the TMZ note are hoaxes or opportunistic scams piggybacking on the case. Let me show this, Russ, and I got your first question.
And I hate when they do that. Someone close to the case. Who the hell is that someone?
Yeah, we always talk about that, like who's that, or someone involved in a case. It could be like we do a lot of true crime, so it could be the defense lawyer in some cases that we do, and people think it's law enforcement. All right, here.
Breaking news. The Pima County Sheriff's Department in Tucson confirming they are aware of reports about a possible ransom note regarding the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. TMZ at the center of the investigation after receiving the alleged ransom note. Fox's Amalia Roy is live in Tucson, Arizona with updates on this case. Very alarming news there. Amalia?
Yes, good evening, Christine. The Pima County Sheriff's Department over X says that they are aware of a ransom note. They did not specify what ransom note, from which outlet it's being distributed, but that they're aware and that they are taking all tips seriously. They're still encouraging people to reach out. And this is at the same time that today the Pima County Sheriff, Chris Nanos, announced that he is scaling back how much information he's revealing about the case. At this point, Sheriff Nanos says they don't know where Nancy Guthrie could be or if she was targeted. Based on that information, I asked him if there's a threat to the public right now, and this is what he said.
Well, we have crime in Tucson all the time, right? Like any city. And so when you say a threat to the public, is there somebody out there who's kidnapping elderly people in the middle of the night every night? We've not heard that. We don't believe that's the case.
So far, we know Nancy Guthrie was last seen on Saturday around 9:30 p.m. She had dinner with her other daughter, Annie Guthrie, who's believed to be the last person to see her before she disappeared. Then Sunday morning, one of Guthrie's friends called a family member saying that she didn't show up to church that day. The family began searching for her at 11 a.m. By noon, they called 911, and the Pima County Sheriff's Department began their search that evening. Today, Sheriff Nanos explained why they don't want to narrow down the rough timeline of her disappearance too much.
It down means we can miss some tips and leads. We're working on with the data we've submitted for investigative analysis. We're working to see if that time can be tightened up. But for now, we're going with what we told you earlier. She was dropped off at 9:30, and she was found to be missing at about 11 o'clock Sunday morning.
The FBI says it is helping in the investigation, analyzing cell phones and information from cell towers. Now, the Pima County Sheriff's Department said they believe that Nancy Guthrie was forcibly taken from her home. They did not mention if he was hurt. Earlier today, law enforcement sources told Fox News Digital that they did find drops of blood around the property. Today, Sheriff Nanos would not comment on whether or not they had found any blood. In Tucson, Arizona, Amalia Roy, Fox 11 News.
So this is a really developing story here. And so are they saying when they're going to talk with the media next?
The next update we can expect as of right now is on Thursday. They did say that they're now moving towards staggering these out into these more official press briefings. Beforehand, it was more one-on-one interviews that were happening yesterday.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Russ, real quick, two things before we get into this question. One is I think that was a tough question when the reporter asked him the other day about is there a threat or not to the public, because there was no way he could answer that, and he had to kind of downplay that a little bit. But technically, if there is someone, it looks like someone is abducting old people. So if that's the case, we don't know much of it yet. Doesn't look like they know much of it. So that was a tough question for him to try to answer. Right? Because
I think that the thing is first of all, just going back to the way that I feel about most journalists, it's a stupid question. How is he supposed to assess that? They don't have any other indicators that there's some rando pervert predator that's running around doing this. This is something totally, novel to that area. So what is he supposed to say? There's no indication that there is a threat to the general public, and you could have divined that just by not asking the question. It's self-evident. The question answers itself. So I hate it when they're stupid.
Yeah, people were asking about surveillance cameras, and someone responded, when the media shows the house, you can't see the house from the road due to winding drive and large landscape bushes. So if there are cameras, people doubt you can see the road due to bushes obstructing the view. And the other thing I wanted to mention in regards to that, there was two things I had with that. Was one was what we just mentioned, him with the statement, and then the other one, what was my second? I lost my train of thought. All right, let me get your question here then, Russ. I'm sure it'll come back to me. Russ, in the latest update we have a sheriff saying they're chasing hundreds of leads and an unverified ransom email that lands with TMZ instead of the family. When that kind of message shows up at the newsroom in the middle of a live abduction case, what should come first, being first to publish or tightening the circle around the investigation?
Well, yeah, I mean, TMZ is just doing what they want to do. You have to, when there's a chance to apprehend someone or a chance to recover someone, why do you work the most for those clicks? And that's what TMZ did. They should have said nothing. They probably knew it was BS. They might think that BS won't hurt just a little bit, but it might. I mean, there might be some copycats out there that might go, "Oh, this is cool. We're gonna, spoof TMZ or something," and it slows down the work. And they have to assign a detective to track it down. So who knows? I'm reminded of. There was a guy during the poly class incident back in the day in the Bay Area where I lived, where they ended up raiding the apartments next to us because someone called and said that they had her. And so that took all of these people away. It took that they had to get a SWAT team out there. They had to do all of that stuff, just because someone wants to play games. I think that those esteemed journalists should have known that there was a high degree of probability that this was bullshit, and that they should have acted accordingly, kept their mouths shut, reported it, instead of trying to generate clicks.
Now, guys, Brian, and he was one of the people that asked questions during that press conference, and he asked about a RIP camera, surveillance camera, and then they didn't quite answer it because they feel that right now relates to the investigation. Now, here's what gets me upset. I just got an update of a video that just came out from him, and right in the title, it talks about the RIP camera. It talked about visible blood and the ring camera missing. So that was not verified by law enforcement. Now, maybe he has a strong connection, but sometimes law enforcement's not verifying it because they don't want that, and they need to protect that information. So he mentions in his latest video, visible blood trail. Enton's footage shows blood drops in small pools by front door and entryway, which we saw already, matching other reporting that blood was found at or just outside the home and inside as well. Retired FBI agent he interviews notes, he always has her on, droplets look like they fell straight down, suggesting dripping from above, and that the absence of bloody footprints could indicate Nancy was carried rather than walking. Then you got the ring camera missing. Enton shows the mountain plate where a ring-style doorbell camera appears to have been, and says the device is gone. He adds that Sheriff Nanos confirmed at the presser that the missing camera is something they're looking into. I think sometimes you have to give people a chance to kind of figure it out before you put that out there. So he said he saw the, I'll see if I can find the video of that. Crime scene status and DNA. Enton reports the house is no longer taped off as a crime scene. We talked about that, but says Nanos told the podcast that he rushed blood for rapid DNA testing, and the guests point out investigators will sample multiple droplets and should already know whose blood it is. Ransom note landscape. Enton reiterates that TMZ received an email ransom letter with specific dollar amount, clothing description, inside the house details, and that at least one local Tucson station also says it's got a ransom email. He quotes the sheriff's statement that they are aware of possible ransom notes and are routing everything to detectives working with the FBI without confirming any are legit. and tightening of sheriff's messages. Ennen stresses that Nanos was far more tight-lipped at the New York presser, even hinting he may have said more than he should have the day before. We just talked about that. He ties the clamp down partly to the FBI's deeper involvement. We just said that. Retired agents on the show described how high-profile cases slow down publicly once federal management layers get involved. So the working theories he's got is likelihood that the blood is Nancy's and that she may have been carried to a vehicle, heavy use of electronic evidence, cell tower data surrounding devices, vehicles, casting an electronic net across the area, and their personal view that this more likely resembles a burglary or crime of opportunity that escalated, or a perpetrator with some connection and counter history with Nancy, workers delivery, etc., than a sophisticated kidnap for ransom plan. Kind of touches on what we said yesterday. Let me see if I could find Russ. What's your thoughts on all that? I'm going to try to see if I could. I'll do it through my phone. See if I could find what he's talking about with the. Here, hold on one second, guys. Let me see if I can find it. Here, bear with me, Russ. Russ, if you want to say anything, go ahead, Russ. I'm going to try to find that picture.
Okay, what's it a picture of?
I want to see if I could find that he supposedly has a picture of the broken ring cam.
Oh, is it broken or is it missing?
Missing. Let me see.
Okay, so
I got it.
There's a few different things that this could be.
So remember, Brian Etten is on. He's there. I forgot. Right. So he didn't get this from TMZ. So he's actually. You know what? Let me just put it on this screen. Hold on, because he's actually there. So he's actually on the property. Because it's no. I still don't know why they're. I still don't understand why they're clearing these properties so quick. Because the news reporters are going to be all over that, and then what happens here is. You can't protect the integrity of the investigation because you're allowing them in on the property. All right, here I have it, Russ. I have it. I forgot that he was reporting from there. Let me show you guys. Let me show you what he's got. Just again, I'm not really a big fan of this guy, but
there's not as much information coming out. And the sheriff even said at the end of the press conference that they're not going to have another press conference until Thursday unless there's an update, which I thought was kind of interesting because it's only Tuesday. Also new, one of my photographers was able to walk up to.
That's what I wanted to mention, Russ. That's what I wanted to mention. The fact that he said he wasn't going to have another update till, let's say, Thursday, very specific. I mean, it could be he wants to keep people informed of the progress, whatever it is, or that maybe there is something they're going to release on Thursday.
Well, I think it's just going to be an update, because if there was something that they needed the public's help with, they would go instantly to it, and if there was something breaking, they would go instantly to it.
Well, I'm curious to see if whatever he releases on Thursday, if it's something that we think that may have been known, but they couldn't release it at that time. So check this out. So this is him in front of the home.
The house behind me. And keep in mind, this is no longer a crime scene. I mean, the sheriff made clear that it is no longer a crime scene, that they released it yesterday, and there hasn't really been anyone out here. There was a woman who came earlier today. I don't know if it was a family member. But anyway, several different people, including one of my photographers, went up to knock on the door just to see if anyone was home, because obviously that's like what we do, and it's no longer a crime scene. And you could see up at the door, this video, you could see that there was blood down near the doormat and just on the ground near the entryway into the house, which is pretty disturbing. There had been reports that there was blood found at the house, and it's pretty clear that this is blood right outside the front door. Where the blood came from, what this means, we don't know. Also, the Ring camera is missing from next to the front door. You can see where there's a plate where there appears that there was a Ring camera, but the Ring camera is now gone. And I asked the sheriff about that. At the press conference, I said, there's a missing Ring camera, and he confirmed that and said it is something that we're looking into. So did the perpetrator take the Ring camera, or was the Ring camera removed before all of this and has nothing to do with what happened? That's a possibility. But the sheriff said that they are aware that the Ring camera is missing and they are looking into it, which is another interesting element to this whole thing. Beyond that, there was no.
See, now the problem I have with that is if the house was still protected, that may be information that they didn't want out, because now that they know, then, you figure, okay, the sheriff could have answered that, but the sheriff doesn't want to answer that. But yet you allow, you kind of unseal the house only after 2 days. And I have a feeling, I could be wrong, but I don't know if that's the same video that TMZ had used, but maybe TMZ agrees with Brian. We get the narrative of the blood drops. You get the narrative of the ring cam. Because I think with TMZ, they kind of want to get their hands on a story and own something. And I think the ransom is a big part of it. That's why they're quick to publish it. And Russ had said it in the past, to get their narrative out there, to either create something or just say they own something. So you got this guy with the ring camera, and then you got the other guy with the blood drops, two elements of the story that they could say they crack, because that's what he'll do later on. And he did remove the camera. He'll be the first person to say, I told you guys, I told you that camera was removed. He does it. Or the one video we watched today, I was watching with him. I didn't see this one yet. This was from I kind of took his, what's it called? The transcript. But every time, I'm the one that asked the question in there today, or I'm by the house. I mean, I get it. You're doing a great job. That's fine. Report it, but do it for the right reasons. I think he may have his father may have been a defense attorney. I forget. I've lost a lot of trust. When me and Russ were covering the Mark Sanchez case, I was very upset with, the connection between TMZ running their narratives and how it connected with News Nation to some extent, and how the narrative started shifting from, Perry Toll being a victim to Mark Sanchez being the one that they were trying to minimize the blame. So, Russ, second part. So the sheriff's office was quickly forced to respond. On X, Pima County posted that they are aware of reports regarding potential ransom notes related to Nancy's case, and stressed that they are taking all tips and leads very seriously, with anything that comes in routed directly to detectives, coordinate with the FBI, plus a QR code for the public to submit tips. At the February 3rd press conference, when Nanos was pressed directly on ransom rumors, he declined to confirm any note had been received, and repeated that his team is following all leads, but would not go into specifics. So, Russ, you watched this new press conference. Nanos won't even say whether a ransom note exists, while TMZ is out there dissecting one. How does that public mismatch affect the way investigators deal with possible kidnapper or a hoaxer trying to hijack the case?
Can you restate that question?
Yeah, sure. Russ, you watched this new press conference. Let me get myself back on. Russ, you watched this new press conference. Nanos, whatever, the sheriff, won't even say whether a ransom note exists, while TMZ is out there dissecting one. How does that public mismatch affect the way investigators deal with a possible kidnapper or a hoaxer trying to hijack the case?
I don't know that it necessarily affects the investigators. It's just more chaos being thrown into the mix, really. In my opinion, it's just one of those things. People want to pick it apart, they're going to pick it apart.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in this case here, though, before they released it all, they should have really gave it over to police and let it be. Here, guys.
The ring camera is very interesting, though, but not to me from the perspective. I'm sure people think, oh, maybe the perpetrator.
But the footage stores in the phone anyway. You could take it down, but the footage is in your phone.
I know, but what I'm wondering about is if that was taken down by the evidence team, and that there is evidence on the ring cam.
Well, you know what? That's a great question, Russ. Because now, why didn't Brian actually say that? That is so common sense. Why didn't we think of that? Because he's got our mind somewhere else. He could have, did you guys collect the thing? Maybe that's what they did.
I think that there's a good chance that okay, so if I run through this, right, is how did they get in? Were they let in? If they were let in, they might have rung the cam. If they rang the cam, then they could have left a fingerprint or some other trace evidence on it, and then that would be something that the FBI would want in evidence. It would be something that they would want to go over with all of their laser and fingerprint technology and all of that. So I think that they took the ring cam.
It makes sense, and it's crazy how the person could paint a picture and we don't even think that as an option, because that could have been an option.
Yeah.
So once TMZ went public, other outlets jumped on the story. Variety led with TMZ receiving an alleged ransom note demanding millions in Bitcoin and highlighted the sheriff's line that all tips are being taken seriously while making clear neither TMZ nor the sheriff's office has verified whether the note is real or a hoax. Newsweek focused on TMZ sharing details of an unverified note and quoted Levin directly on the dollar demand and or else language while stressing that TMZ openly said it doesn't know if the message is legit. Yahoo Mediaite, Realtor.com, and East Idaho News all framed it explicitly as an unverified ransom note sent to TMZ, repeating that it demanded a substantial sum in Bitcoin, that the wallet address was real, and that TMZ says it turned the email over to law enforcement. Town Hall and Raw Story both tied the note to the latest briefing, noting that the press conference itself added little detail and that Nanos brushed off ransom questions even as TMZ was rolling out the email online. So, Russ, now that Variety, Newsweek, Yahoo, and others have all amplified this unverified email tied directly to today's briefing, does slapping the word alleged on it actually protect anyone, or does it just crank the volume on something investigators were trying to keep maybe in the background?
I think that there's far more noise than signal. So who can say?
Yeah, I saw it came up in my feed. There was a local it wasn't just sent to TMZ, it was also sent to the local news coverage, whatever that network is. Okay, so, and by the way,
and why would you, why would they send it to a news organization? That's
it's hoaxers.
And believe me, I know how stupid criminals are. I work with them every single day, but they're not that stupid.
Yeah, and then so standard guidance around ransom and extortion threats is straightforward. Preserve the evidence, immediately notify law enforcement or the FBI, and be extremely careful about publicizing details that could interfere with negotiations, create copycats, or hand scammers a playbook. The FBI has specifically warned about fake and virtual kidnapping schemes where extortionists inject themselves into high-profile cases with urgent threats and manufactured proof of life, urging families, intermediaries, and now increasingly platforms and media outlets to document the contact and get authorities involved rather than rewarding the behavior with broad public exposure. So, Russ, in light of this update, hundreds of leads, the window possibly closing, the FBI all hands on deck. What does by the book handling of a ransom style email look like for a newsroom? And where does going on air and walking through the content in real time fall on that spectrum?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that they could fall back on that would make me think a little bit less of how less I think of them would be if they did this at the direction of the FBI, thinking that it's real. I don't think that there's any chance that anyone thinks that it's actually real. And I think that if they had talked to the FBI ahead of time, the FBI would have said, no, we don't want you saying anything. I think that they would want to game that out. I think that they would want the chance to, run everything that they can through what they have going with regards to electronic counter surveillance, and get a place to go to and go do the raid, and none of that happened that we know of, and it's evident now. There's been enough time that nothing has gone on, so there's every indication that it's bullshit, and there's no indication that it's actually real.
So we got two more questions left, but I got something here I want to show you. There may be a bigger video of him at the home. Hold on one second. Maybe a longer video of him at the home. I want to show you the home. So this is him already going on the news for the broken Ring camera. I told you he's going to take, because Ring camera missing from Nancy, because these news run with every little thing. So one gets the blood drops, one gets the broken camera. This is what they do. Let me just see what he says here. Hold on.
with these ransom notes, Chris, because you just don't know. Are these just buffoons sending in notes trying to get some money? We don't know. We know that that the sheriff confirms that they are investigating several ransom notes, including one that went to TMZ and one that also went to a local TV affiliate here in Tucson. Something really alarming, though, Chris, and I want to show you this video. We were able to get up close to the house right near the front door, and there is blood. There is a blood trail near the front door of Nancy Guthrie's house, and you can see the blood right there, right near the front doormat. And as the camera points, there's something else troubling. There was a Ring camera there, and all you can see now is where the mounting was on the wall. The Ring camera has been pulled off. I asked the sheriff about that at the press conference today, and I asked, was it perpetrated?
Such a good boy.
Didn't I tell you that he's going to always say how he put the question out there? Now he's going to run with it. Maybe it is important, but the point is, this is going to be his little thing now. What were you going to say, Russ?
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, you know, what he describes as a blood trail there, it's only a trail in the sense is that it's directional. Those are drops of blood falling from a height. We don't know if she was ambulatory or if they carried her, but it wasn't something where that was a trail of blood that was left by a smear. That's not what we're seeing there. So I don't know.
Exactly.
I think that, you know, you should get more out of your education and how you describe things. That's blood splatter, you know, or spatter rather, not splatter. But I think that, you know, I don't know, just the way he's describing everything, it sounds more grisly than it actually is.
Yeah, guys, and I know there's a lot of people that like him. Don't take it disrespectfully, but the point is, I'm very upset with him, as I said, because I found out who he really was during that Emmanuel Harrow case. I believe that they were running Perkins' operation, and then he put it out there, and then Riverside County, the law enforcement there had to say, no, we weren't doing that, but they were protecting the integrity. They didn't get a chance to they were trying to running at the same time, one with Rebecca, one with Jake. And then they had to pull back. But then when later on, when they admitted that they were doing the Perkins operation, but it did get compromised, he's like, I told you I wasn't lying. And right off the bat, instead of admitting, you know, you shouldn't have released it and maybe, you know, okay, take onus of that. He didn't. This was more about him breaking the story. And for me, that makes me view him differently. I'm sorry, guys. That was just, got to get it out there. I got some information that should not have been released. And I know he could defend it. If you watch this video, there was no reason for that. Let them run their investigation. Let them do what they got to do. And then you can get the information on the back end. I think they were very close to finding where Jake is. All they had to do was break Rebecca a little bit. And we never got the chance to see that. Let me just see. I wanted to show you one other, but let me just finish this one up first. Hold on. See what he says. Because so what I realized, Russ, and I'm learning this, is the news takes a little tidbit and they run with it. Just to, as you said, just to get the views, because the trail of blood gets one set of views. Now let's do another video on the ring on the missing Ring camera. All right, so hold on.
The Ring camera, and all he would say was, we noticed that too, and we are investigating. Something else new is Nancy had a pacemaker, and the pacemaker electronically connected to her Apple Watch, and her Apple Watch, we know, was charging in her bedroom, and the last time the pacemaker connected to the Apple Watch was around 2 a.m., so the thought is it was shortly after 2 a.m. That Nancy was abducted.
So can I ask you a question, Russ? Didn't the sheriff say nicely, let's keep the time frame wide so we can go ahead and get all the information we need? So let's keep it from 9:30 or 9:45 to 12 noon the next day. Keep it wide so we can get all the information. And we don't need to narrow down the timeline because we want to make sure we get all the information as we can. What did he do? Narrows down the timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's because you don't know how long this lasted. I mean, you know that there were hours during which she disappeared, but even if they had a time of entry, they don't know necessarily what the time of exit was. If they knew a time of exit, then they don't necessarily know when the entry was, and those things being on different sides of the time equation could skew what somebody thinks as might being important as to something they noticed. You know, it could even go back considerably further than the time that she was reported dropped off. There could have been somebody lurking. There could have been someone that went up to other houses. There could have been something that someone else might have noticed. Just because it falls within that time frame doesn't mean that it's unimportant because it's outside of the time frame.
Yeah, and you know what? The law enforcement didn't go right up and say pacemaker right away because people have HIPAA rights. This is her medical. We just violate people's medical. Am I being petty? No, I think
I would say this is that it might be something that they want to launch as a concern to the person who did it, to know that, you know, there's issues here.
I get it, but they never said what she was taking medicine for. They never said in any of the press conferences what she was suffering from. They were very protective of that information, but you could let people know in general she's sick and not to tell them what she has.
The reason that you stay protective of it, though, is because you don't want to give them ideas about what type of medication they may have to score if she's unconscious and can't tell them or something like that.
No, I get that, but there's also protection there too. I mean, there's rights there, and I think the news running with the pacemaker right off the bat when that was not. I don't think law enforcement did this. I'm going to see something. How did the info on the pacemaker get released? I'm just curious. And could this be? I mean, maybe I'm going too far, but I don't think I'm that far off on this. Let me just see. So, I don't remember. I think it came. The pacemaker detail appears to have come from a law enforcement briefing, and then was expanded on by secondary reporting. And whether it's a HIPAA issue depends on who actually disclosed it. Sheriff officials have said investigators are working through any data that may be available from a pacemaker, but in those updates, they did not publicly give a specific time that it stopped transmitting. Outlets like Radar Online and AOL then reported that Nancy's pacemaker stopped syncing with her Apple Watch around 2 a.m. on Sunday, describing that Apple Watch data as helping narrow the abduction window. Social posts and explainers have repeated that framing, adding that her phone and watch were found inside the home while the pacemaker supposedly lost connection in the early hours. HIPAA applies to covered entities, health plans, most healthcare providers, and their business associates, and governs their disclosure of protected health information, PHI. It does not apply to law enforcement agencies or to media outlets. Okay. I get law enforcement agencies, but why not media outlets? If a doctor, hospital, or device clinic treating Nancy gave specific pacemaker transmission times to press without proper authorization or a valid law enforcement exception, that could raise HIPAA concerns in theory, but we don't have evidence that that's what happened. Reports so far attribute the 2 a.m. sync mainly to anonymous latest information, not to a named cardiology provider. So law enforcement can receive and in some circumstances share limited medical device information without violating HIPAA themselves, because HIPAA does not regulate police or sheriffs. The restriction sits on the healthcare side. Family members, friends, and media are also outside HIPAA. If someone close to Nancy or a non-covered source relayed what they were told about the pacemaker, wearable data, that's not a HIPAA violation, even if it feels like a privacy breach. Okay, so you learn something new every day. Definitely worth questioning, but I guess the media. All right, so let's see. I just like the fact that he did do the timeline, though, but let's see. It's almost done.
And the last thing I want to show you, Chris, is we got some drone video in the area, which I think is important because people think this is like a normal neighborhood. We're actually in the foothills, very close to the mountains, and the houses are spread out here outside Tucson. Each house, I would say, sits on anywhere from an acre to 3 or 4 acres. You'll see when it gets dark out here, it's pitch black. So this isn't like a neighborhood where everybody's going to have a camera and people are going to see what's going on at their neighbor's house. It's much more rural than that, and everything is spread out, Chris.
You're dumping all this stuff on me. I've been listening as we're going through. I got questions. Let me go in reverse order, okay? And your super sleuth producer that it's out there with you, Allison Weiner, you guys saw a rescue truck or some kind of first responder vehicle there and some kind of activity. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that was new. Right before Elizabeth's show started, suddenly this chopper showed up and was hovering right over the house. And I thought, oh, maybe they're going to make one pass. They were here for an hour, circling the house and then circling the area around the house. And then there was a search and rescue team that also showed up in a pickup truck. Did they get some kind of tip? Were they looking for something? We don't know, but that's new. We haven't seen that happen yet.
Right. That's okay. Two, the connection from the heart device to the phone, is that about proximity?
It's about timing, because when she was taken away and the pacemaker could no longer connect to the iPhone because it does it through Bluetooth, you have to be close to it.
So it's proximity.
It showed that when she moved away at 2 a.m., suddenly she must have been abducted after 2 a.m. That's what it shows.
Okay. The blood. So I was talking with one of our colleagues about it before and saying, it doesn't look like gushing, you know what I mean? Like this is a huge wound that's bleeding out. And obviously it's sequential. So it's moving, either into the house or out of the house, most likely out. You see there's a little bit of a spray pattern there that could indicate a pause. And you're saying that investigators have a little bit of a notion of what the blood by its pattern may suggest?
Yeah, we don't know what the blood means. My first thought was even like you mentioned, it's not a ton of blood, almost like a nosebleed. We don't know. We know that we knew there was blood yesterday, but we didn't see the blood. Today we see the blood. We know they've tested the blood. Whether it came back to Nancy or someone else, we don't know. But it's right there. It's still right there on the front step.
And Allison and I were talking about it in terms of, is the theory that someone carried her out? That forensically they have a way of assessing something like that versus her walking out. That is interesting. Then the last part is these ransoms. Now, the fishy part is the Bitcoin, which there's a plus minus on it. Why would you ask for Bitcoin? Not traceable. Why would you do a scam, having nothing to do with Nancy's abduction, because it's untraceable? So you could get free money out of this. Is there any indication as to whether or not they think these are legit demands?
Yeah, and just back to the blood real quick, I wanted to mention the blood stops right near the door, which like what you and Allison were talking about. Does that mean that she was put into a car right there? Because the blood doesn't continue out into the driveway from what we could tell. In terms of the ransom, this may all just be made up, Chris. I mean, these could be people just watching the news, wanting to mess around. Let me see if I can get $20,000. I mean, they sent it to TMZ, and then TMZ was having a hard time getting in touch with the sheriff, apparently. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to buy that those are necessarily real, but the sheriff did make clear that they're really investigating them. I mean, they're not just sort of brushing them aside. They said, we are looking into both of those.
Thank you for watching.
It's funny, TMZ had a hard time getting in touch with the sheriff's department, maybe because no one trusts them, or it's funny, they're always quick to say they have all this information coming from law enforcement, but yet when they try to give something, I can't find them. This was the house for us. I found this video. Brian did it again. It's a 1-minute video, but it's him walking around the property.
Guys, so I'm outside Nancy Guthrie's home. This is her house right here. Right outside Tucson, Arizona. This is where she went missing from, Nancy Guthrie, Savannah Guthrie's mom. First thing I noticed coming out here that you don't really get the sense from on TV is just how kind of remote the area is. This is very much not in the city. Everybody lives on, I would say, an acre or more. There's no street lights. I was out here last night. It's really, really dark. So this isn't just like kind of a typical neighborhood. It has a rural vibe. You can see all the mountains there in the background. The latest.
Hey, Russ, don't you love how when they're covering this story, they talk about how vulnerable the neighborhood is? So you might as well just invite other people to come in and take advantage.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of self-evident, but.
Yeah, let me just see. Hold on.
This on the investigation is we have confirmed through the sheriff here that they are, they have found DNA inside the house that they are getting tested right now. The sheriff has said that he believes Nancy Guthrie was abducted.
The rest of that we already know. Okay, so Russ, I got the last 2 questions coming up. So going back to when you get the ransom note, from a journalism ethics angle, the Society of Professional Journalists minimize harm. They live by that framework. Minimize harm framework asks newsrooms to weigh the safety of the person in danger against the drive to publish, especially in kidnapping and acute family trauma. That often means delaying sensitive details, coordinating with investigators, and in a moment like this news press conference, asking a simple question with an 84-year-old whose life could be in jeopardy and a sheriff saying, "We hope she's still alive." Does air in this specific email right now help or hurt the person whose life may be on the line? So, Russ, given what we heard today from Nanos about her health and the shrinking window, is there any responsible way to update the public on possible ransom communications without essentially giving a potential extortionist free advertising and a blueprint for the next hoax? I think no. I think they should have just turned the letter over and let it be. All right, last set, Russ. Last round, we did it. Right now, there's still no public indication that TMZ is facing legal consequences over how it handled the email. Law enforcement statements in today's press conference consistently characterized ransom emails as just one category of leads under review and stressed that all incoming information is being piped to detectives and FBI agents working the case. The real fallout is playing out in the court of public opinion. An elderly woman still missing, a sheriff warning the window to save her may be closing, and a debate over whether a media outlet should ever become central a character in the story of a life still unfolding kidnapping investigation. So final question, Russ. After this latest press conference, hundreds of leads, no suspects, a pacemaker timeline, and now ransom emails swirling around in the media, the TMZ decision to go public with that note, move this case forward, set it back, or just turn a desperate search into another content cycle?
I think that they probably ran, the leads on those out pretty quick. They already probably know that. I know they had to check them. I don't think it was probably greatly impactful, but it was at the very least a nuisance. I think most of the nuisance probably came from just having to deal with more stupid reporters' questions, though.
Hey, I learned something new today about the HIPAA. I work in prison management, so I kind of got myself in that world and thought it applied outside of that world because we're always HIPAA violation, you have to protect that. So I learned a little today. Tomorrow, the next day, we'll visit for the first time the Haley Busby case. I have my whole thing set for tomorrow or the next day for me and Russ, but this one took precedence because as of now, this is just ongoing. Right now for the Haley Busby case, thank God we caught the person who did it. We will be getting justice for her very soon, but this is the fight to still find out what happened. So I decided to put this one first, but I will get to the other one. Russ, anything you want to say in closing? Good show.
No, just I would say this, our hopes and prayers are with Savannah Guthrie and her mother, Nancy, and I hope it all turns out well for them. I just hope that, something breaks very soon. I think that the hardest thing at this point for that family is not knowing. And this is truly a tragic crime that's happened here.
Yeah, and guys, just to show you how small this, let me get back in, how small this world is. So I've been doing a lot of cases, and I got messaged or commented. I was doing the Elizabeth Lizzie Green case. She's a young woman who just disappeared, and her father messaged me on my comments, which I thought was amazing. I'm going to see if I can have him come on. The story was requested for me to do, so I did it. And then if he's willing to come on, we could discuss it because it was more about awareness. And then I remember Camilla Mendoza, when she passed, her family reached out to me, so they are trusting the content. And then there was also the case with the young lady in the freezer that I had a family member just comment, I believe, on that. I think that was the case. I had 3. I was trying to take note of it. Maybe it wasn't that case. I forget, but definitely the 2 I mentioned. All right, guys, if you like the content, I have Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. Link to that's in the description. Russ is right below mine and top of the YouTube channel. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. More to come. As always, guys, stay safe.